If you've been keeping up with the Star Rail community, you probably know that Aventurine is currently bugged in a way that nerfs him pretty significantly and has been since the start of version 2.7. Today, I'll be explaining the likely causes for why he's bugged and why he still isn't fixed yet. But if you aren't aware, the bug is related to his final Ascension trace, which is responsible for providing shields to the team upon launching his follow-up. The bug makes it so the final portion, which states that the ally with the lowest shield will receive double the amount of shielding, will never activate. It's not situational like most other bugs, it is literally reproduced 100% of the time. It may seem small, but this really sucks since it's Aventurine's main way of protecting your most vulnerable teammate, as the rest of his shields are non-targeted AoE, and given that he's a popular character to use for his defensive strength and synergy with follow-up teams, and he had his rerun very recently at the end of 2.6, a lot of players are actively suffering from this bug. Many are justifiably upset that despite the bug being discovered very early on in the update, it hasn't been fixed for a whole month. We are talking about a 5-star character that people spent real money for with a certain expectation in mind after all. Given that the Star Rail devs have reported that they are already aware of the issue, and that other bugs which popped up during this update have already been fixed, there's a 99% chance Aventurine won't be fixed until 3.0. I recently graduated with a degree in computer science, and I've had some experience working on games inside Unity, the engine Star Rail is made in, so I'm gonna try my best to explain why this bug happened. So a lot of people have already deduced that this bug is due to code changes brought upon by the upcoming introduction of Remembrance's Memo Sprite summons. I mean, it will be one of the most significant alterations to the core gameplay we've ever seen. But why would that affect Aventurine now rather than in 3.0? Well, we just got Sunday, whose skill explicitly interacts with characters who have a summon, whether it be the automatic kind we've seen up to now, or Memo Sprites. What the developers likely did is code Sunday in a way where he still works with the current summoners, but when they add in Remembrance, he will already have the correct interactions ready to go. This way, they wouldn't have to program two separate versions of him, being one with Memo Sprite implementation and one without. But in order to do this, they would have had to change some of the internals with how characters work, likely related to allies and targeting them with friendly abilities. Aventurine's trace uses the word ally to describe who it grants its extra shield to, and we can see from the livestream that Huohuo uses her skill, which targets a single ally, to heal Aglaea's summon. So we can safely assume Memo Sprites are considered allies by the game's logic, just like other characters. With this in mind, I'm going to visualize an example scenario of what likely led to the bug. The actual details might be a little different, but this should help demonstrate how stuff like this can happen. So Aventurine's bonus shield targets the ally with the lowest shield value as we know, and in order to do this, the game needs to compare the shield value of every ally. When Aventurine's follow-up attack activates, let's say it calls a function to carry out this process. Typically, such a function would accomplish this task by iterating through a list containing references to all your current allies from which you can get their values to compare the shields. The function stores the lowest number it's seen so far and the character associated with it before moving on to the next. Upon reaching the end of the list, it then returns the reference to the lowest shield ally so that Aventurine's follow-up knows who to give that extra shield to. Since the number of possible allies on the team is expanding from a hard maximum of 4 to potentially 8 if each character has a Memo Sprite, it checks out that the developers would have to alter the way the team data is stored to accommodate for this. Once expanded, then Sunday's ability to grant buffs to a character and their Memo Sprite can be implemented. And this list of character references wouldn't be located in Aventurine's code, of course. It would be somewhere more public in visibility. This way, any character that needs to reference this list for whatever reason already has access to do so. This would explain how Aventurine got affected even though he himself wasn't changed in 2.7 and why Sunday's addition would necessitate such an adjustment. My assumption is that something about these empty references is somehow causing Aventurine's bonus shield to end up going to a non-existent ally. But without knowing specific details like the structure of the character list nor how the game reads through the list, the exact how and why are going to remain unknown. As for why a solution hasn't been implemented yet, I suppose just being lazy is a possibility, but we have no way of knowing how complex the issue actually is, and I certainly don't know the technical restrictions for pushing out hotfixes to the live version of a game. I'm guessing that once Memo Sprites are fully implemented, the game should have the correctly defined behavior in place such that they are properly not factored into the find lowest shield ally function. If the devs do have this working on their 3.0 dev build, migrating that stuff over to live could still be too big or difficult for a hotfix, with further complications such as pushing updates to the Apple App Store requiring time to be reviewed and accepted. For the record, Hoyo still hasn't confirmed the bug will be fixed in the next update, but I mean, if it still persists in version 3 then that would just be completely ridiculous. The problem could also be that trying to do a hotfix ends up breaking things and leading to more issues than is realistically worth dealing with when the problem is going to go away in a few weeks regardless. And even if they could do something like revert the team storage to a previous version, then Sunday would probably break because he's trying to reference data that isn't there. So from their perspective, just letting the bug run its course for 2.7 and then giving us an appropriate amount of apology jades might unfortunately be seen as the best option for them, as much as it sucks. I want to reiterate that I agree with the people who are annoyed by this bug, and there's nothing wrong with holding Hoyo to a high standard by criticizing them. But hopefully this video helped you understand a bit more about why this bug happened and why the unique circumstances surrounding its origin means it's unlikely that cases to this scale will be happening again in the future. More updates that require restructuring the foundational code of combat are going to come eventually, but they will be rare, and having to push out some of it a patch before makes it even more unlikely. Also, last thing, shout out to those Hoyo programmers that work on fixing bugs that most players never even hear about. You guys will always be cool. I hope you found this video to be interesting or insightful. Subscribe for more Honkai Star Rail discussion videos, and as always, thanks for watching.